Hi.
Hey, hello. Well, good
Okay.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I trust you can all hear me. If you can all hear me, please signify either by writing so in the chat pod or by just simply saying it.
Well, I think it's more if they can't hear you, they need to.
Sometimes the mics are on, however, they don't work.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can hear you,
Dorothy,
Mike
Dorothy, are
McGarvey.
you there?
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome. Irene, Irene is there. I know she is. Joanne Webster, are you there?
Lois can hear us,
I think Joanne has her mic muted. Lois Spitzer has her mic muted.
but
Okay,
she
well,
said she can hear. Everybody
perfect.
says they're here. Well, not
Ex-
everybody, but a few people. I'm following the chats.
Yeah, that's great. I well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for those of you who have come back from our first webinar a few days ago. On behalf of the SRI and ETTC, I would like to welcome you and to this free webinar on Google Docs, facilitated by Phil Polsinelli, who himself is a Google certified trainer. This webinar, as you know, is 1 hour long, and we ask that you hold all your questions to the end. There will be a Q&A session at the very end. Phil will open it up so that you can ask all your questions. In our last webinar, there weren't many questions, but hopefully this time there will be some. Remember, we can't see you. All we can is hear you, and it doesn't matter. All questions are important. So this webinar is not intended for those who have an intermediate or advanced level in this particular subject, but this is for beginners.
We
Um,
will have future webinars for
we will have future
more
webinars.
more
Exactly,
intermediate and advanced users.
exactly. So without any further delay, I'll leave you with Mr. Phil Polsinelli.
Okay. Hello. Um, you should be seeing my presentation on the screen, which I'm not gonna keep up the whole time. I'll be going back and forth with it. As a matter of fact, right now I'm going to go out of it and I'm going to take the link and copy it, and I'm going to paste it into the chat box for everybody, so that if you want to get to that later, you can. You don't necessarily have to do it now, but I do want to show you, for those of you that were not in attendance of the on the Google Drive workshop. Everything I cover, or a lot of what I cover, is placed into this presentation. Not so much that I want to present it while I'm actually doing the workshop, but this is more or less for you to visit after the fact. And every slide has a little, I'd say 30-second animation that goes over the stuff that I've covered. So if you need to refresh your memory on a few things, you can do that. So today we're going to take a look at creating a Google Doc, which for most of you, a lot of this stuff isn't going to be real difficult because it's basic word processing. Really, the best thing to get out of today's workshop will be some of the stuff that we will be able to learn about Google Docs, but more importantly, this will be our biggest look at sharing a document and some of the advantages that sharing a document can give us, particularly if we want to use this from an academic situation. And I want to cover that in depth today. So you'll get a lot out of that. The great news about the sharing, as a matter of fact, I have a little slide on it here. Where is it? Right here. I'm jumping ahead. Once you know how to share here, you know how to share in all of the Google documents, all of the Google tools. The sharing interface is the same, okay? But this particular one has some great features in the sharing that is wonderful, particularly for teachers that collect papers or need to collect papers in any kind, or maybe communicate with students with papers. What I mean by papers is like, research papers and whatnot. It gives us some great options for those kind of things. It's also wonderful for collaborating with colleagues on things. I remember the old days where, you would type something up in your Word document and send it to somebody, and they would make revisions, and they'd send it back to you with, revision 1 at the end of the file name, and then you'd send it back with revision 2, and it would go back and forth. Well, when you get into this sharing world, everything is you only work off of one document, so it makes it for a much better experience. So I'm going to start with just creating a document itself, and like I said, I may come back and forth to this presentation. Now I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and I'm just going to let you see what it looks like to start a document. Now I'm going to switch actually to a different Google account. I have several, as you can see. And the reason I'm switching to this one is this is my personal account as opposed to my Stockton account. And my Stockton account doesn't have Gmail capabilities. So I just want to have this because it gives me a little bit more flexibility. I will be going back and forth between the two when I talk about sharing, because I'm going to be sharing with myself to show you what that looks like. And I will let you know what identity I'm assuming when I do that. As a matter of fact, if you look at the little icons in the right corner of the page, this one, it's hard to tell, they're kind of small. The one I'm mousing over here in the top right corner, that's my personal one. And the one over here where I'm sort of standing at a podium, you see the Stockton logo, that's my other account. So I will be going back and forth between those a little bit. Now, to start a new document, I'm in my Drive, and there's a couple places we can start from. And this is a good place to teach you something about a little thing that Google does. I said this in the last workshop. Sometimes you just want to work in the domain of Docs itself as opposed to Drive. And one way to get there is if you go to your web browser and you're logged in, and you type in docs.google.com. Takes you, whoops, that's not the one I wanted, but we actually will be using that later. Docs.google.com. Oh, that's spelled it wrong. Oh my God. Gotta learn how to type. Does anybody have a webinar on typing that I could, okay, there we go. So see, now the reason I'm showing this is this shows you like a nicer kind of interface of just Docs. Yeah.
Can you put your picture smaller so we can have the document bigger?
Can I? I think so.
It's hard to see what you're showing.
You can do that.
I say you can control that yourself by actually holding it from one corner and pushing it up.
Actually, the little white line underneath it drags it up and down.
Phil, I think since they have all seen you, I think it's a good time to shut the
let's get rid
video
of me. Yeah,
and you can come out. You come back at the end.
They all know that I'm actually here, and so I shut myself off now. I'll come back for questions.
Okay, good.
Now that the screen look bigger?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay, and I could also do this while we're working, and I could go back and forth that way. Okay, great. Now, so this is one way to get in here. So in the Docs section itself, if I just click the plus sign up here, it will start one. You'll also notice to the right of these, some of these other things. These are the templates. This actually opens up what's called the template gallery. I'll talk about that in a second. This is probably something you might want to look through maybe after the workshop is over to see what kind of documents are there. I'll show you how that works. But actually what I want to do is go back to Drive itself and just start one from there. So I'm going to click on the new button over here. I went back to my Drive and I'm going to click on the new button, and I'm just going to do Docs, and I have a choice of blank document or template. I'm mainly going to be working with blank document today, but let me just show you what the templates are.
Hello?
Yeah.
Shit.
Hello? Okay. pre-formatted types of documents that are categorized by different styles of things. So like, for instance, I'm going to scroll right to education, and you can see there are essay ones and various different types of things. Now here, I'm going to click on this one. I'll do lesson plan. You can see there's maybe a couple of those. And basically, all these are pre-formatted documents, okay? So if you want, you can take these, and because they're already kind of put together, you can click into these and just type over whatever you want in here, okay? So that's really all you need to know about the templates, other than the fact that you can search through them and look through more of them. But what I want to do is start with a blank document and show you what tools are available. So this is my first blank document. For those of you that are completely new, you'll notice that the toolbar, it looks very much like any other word processor you've used. There's a couple of little tools in here that are unique to the Google world, but for the most part, you'll be familiar with them. So I'm not going to spend insane amounts of time talking about some of these tools, but I am going to mention some of the nuances of some key ones. The first thing I want to point your attention to is the very top left corner of the screen. You see where it says Untitled Document? That's because I haven't given this a name. And if I wanted to name that, I could click right up in here and type in a name. But there's a little shortcut that Google gives you that I really like. What I'm going to do here is type in, title of document, just something to put in here. And if I have that in my document, and it's time, maybe I've typed some other things, whatever, and now it's time to put in my title. If I just click in the title, it takes whatever was the first line of your document and uses that as the title. I like that because it saves a little time, and it does create consistency with whatever you put in as a title, and it just saves me time, and I'm all about saving time. Because those of you who've already watched me type, you can see why. Now, what I'm going to do is very quickly run through some of these tools for you, and then I'm going to talk in depth about some of the more interesting ones. We have our undo and redo tool. I don't think anybody needs to know, but be aware that you can do multiple undos, and those become very handy. There's the print icon. There's the paint format, which I'm going to demonstrate for you because that's a cool one, and that's one that a lot of people don't utilize enough. I can also view 100% or less. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit so you can see even a little better. Of course, this isn't going to zoom in on the tools, only the working of the document. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. This thing, it defaults to saying normal text, and you've seen these in other word processors. I really like to use these because, as you can see, you have title, subtitle, and heading. And of course, as the heading numbers increase, the size of heading will decrease. But I really like to use these. See, I just used title there. And the reason is if I go in, I'm just going to type in some gibberish here. And if I set that to heading, and then another one to heading 2, well, for one thing, it's going to create consistency. It also saves me a lot of time. Oh, I could go in there and make these font sizes bigger and bold and those kind of things in order to accentuate different sections of my document or whatever. But I love the time-saving capabilities of these. Additionally, I love the consistency it creates. So I don't have to worry about matching fonts and worrying about, well, is that a 14-point font or a 16-point font? I can just choose the heading. But the real reason I like to do this, particularly if I'm typing in a larger, longer paper, is that if you look in the tools, you'll see one. It's where am I here? Why is it not showing? Well, it's actually under Insert. I thought it was in Tools. Excuse me. Table of Contents. When you create a table of contents, it actually uses heading 1, 2, and 3 to create the different sections. So it reads those automatically, and I'll demonstrate that toward the end of the webinar. So it gives you a built-in, very easy to create table of contents should you have a long document that you're creating. So use those. A lot of people don't. A lot of people will, go in and try to use the next set of steps that I'm going to show you, which would, of course, be if I have some text and if I want to change that text, I have my fonts. And for a web-based application, this gives you a lot of fonts. And if these fonts aren't enough, you can go to more fonts. It lets you select through all of these. Now, when you go here, if there's a particular one you're looking for, you can search for it. There's a little search box. It will allow you to see over here on the sort area, you can sort by fonts. Right now, this one's being sorted by popularity. That's what it defaults to. But if I wanted to sort them alphabetically, if I was searching for a particular one, you can find it. But, there are a lot here. So you should be in pretty good shape if you're a type of person that really gets into lots of different fonts. They're all here. I'm just going to stick to something, nothing too special there, just something to show you how it changes. To the right of that are sizes. You of course, you know how those work. And if I wanted to put in a size that is not in this list, see, it goes up to 96. Let's say I wanted 120. Well, we'll do 132. I could put that. Of course, that's scrolled to another page, but you can put those in manually. So you can even, as you can see, it goes like from 12 to 14. Let's say that a 13-point font made everything fit on my page perfectly. I could just type that in, and I would use it. So you can put any font size you want. I think it even takes decimal sizes. I think everybody knows about bold, italics, underline. I think everybody knows how that works. I do have a little word of advice. Underline, if you're keeping your document in the digital world, meaning that everybody who's going to see it is going to be visiting it online, I would stay away from underline as much as possible, because I would stay away from that as much as possible, simply because people might confuse it with a link, with a hyperlink. Now, I am seeing a text. I'm watching the text messages here, and somebody's reporting that so this is going in and out. Is anybody, if anybody else is having issues with that, please post it on the chat, and we'll see if there's something that can be fixed. In the meantime, I'm just going to continue. Okay, so that would be the font sizes, or I'm sorry, the bold, italics, and underline. Now, here's the font color. And this used to be all in one button. Now it's been separated. They just recently did this. I can change my font color to anything I like here. And if I like, I can select a font, and the little button next to it is the highlight color if I wanted to highlight the font, if I wanted to create some kind of a highlight. I'm going to undo that, but that's how that works. Now, next to that is something that really starts to become useful, which is being able to insert hyperlinks. And this is wonderful because we're working in the digital world, and we can put in links now if we want to make references to something. Now, to put in a link, let's put in a link to stockton.edu. So one thing to keep in mind is when you put in a link, a lot of people will actually work to put the whole hyperlink in the text. I don't like to work that way. I like to put in the friendly text first and let the link live behind the scenes. So I'll show you how that works. So I'll put in Stockton University, or just Stockton U, and I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to click on my link tool. And well, here's the beauty of Google. It will read the text you have. And if it can find a link that goes along with the text you're using, it will actually suggest it. So you can see right here that Stockton University, stockton.edu is available. But if I didn't have that, I could put that in. I could just type it in here. And when I do, I've now got a hyperlink in my document. So if I share this document with anybody or whatever, they can get to particular resources, which again gives us an advantage over paper. next to the link is this is a comment icon. We're going to talk about comments extensively, so I'm going to come back to that one. And the next one is the image. I'm also going to come back to the image one because I want to talk a little bit about inserting images as we go on. Of course, we have our left align. Let me just be on some text here. Left align, center align, right align, and justify, which of course evens out your text on either side, leaving some gaps in between. So, everybody knows how those work. Now, line spacing is also available. You have a choice of single and the various 1.15, 1.5, and double. You can also do custom spacing, which really you could go in here and put in any size of line spacing that you like right in here and apply it. So again, that's another one of those things that if you're trying to fit a document perfectly to the page, maybe a double spacing is a bit too much and you want to just squeeze it in and you're using a double spaced text, maybe you could go to 1.80 or something like that there. So that's another handy feature that's right in front of you. And some other word processors, those are kind of buried and harder to find. We also have our bullet points. So let's put in some things that could be bullet points. I'll show you how that works. And select it. I can either have a numbered list or bullet points. But in addition to what you see here, if I scroll down, if I click the down arrow, you'll see that I have these various different styles of numbered bullets. Or if I click on the actual bullets list themselves, I have various different styles. Look at this. You can do like checkbox, a checklist, if you like. That have that kind of look. If you want to change your bullets that way, I'm going to set mine back to original, just plain old bullets, but that's how that works. You also have the ability to indent, or I hate to say the word outdent, so I'll say decrease indent. You can put that in back and forth. And if you like it, of course, you can go in and out, and it works that way. And it doesn't have to be in bullets when you're doing that, of course. You can use that anywhere in the document that you like. Now, this next one I really like. This one's called clear formatting. It looks like a T with a slash through it. And if I have something like this, I'm going to format this thing into oblivion. Let's see. Let's get a really obnoxious font and have something like that. We've all shared documents with people where they send us things and they thought they got a little clever with the fonts or with the formatting, and you look at it and go, this whole thing needs to be reworked. I can't take it. So this clear formatting is a wonderful tool. Sometimes when somebody sends me a document and I want to start working with it, I'll just select I'll just select all and apply this to it. If I select this crazy text I just did, I'm going to take the clear formatting tool, and then it just takes it back to plain text, which is really, really helpful when you have too much formatting in something. A lot of times, this can also be useful if you copied and pasted something from a web page or something like that, and you'll see like some crazy background colors and things like that coming in. Just select that text and hit clear formatting, and that will fix it for you. Now I'm going to, over here on the far right, you'll see this thing. This is a great set of tools right here. It says editing, suggesting, and viewing, and those actually apply to documents when you share them. So when we start talking about sharing, we'll take a look at those. Now I'm going to go back to the far left and talk about this paint format. And as I was saying before, I really love to keep consistency in documents. And what I'm going to do is take some text like this, and I'm going to do some odd things to it, just to, in order to illustrate how this works. I'm going to pick a different kind of font. I don't want to spend too much time here. I'll do something like that. And I'm going to pick an odd color. And I'm going to make it italics. Okay. Now let's say that I actually want to use that. Okay. Chances are in real life I probably never would, but let's say that I do. And I wanted to type something down here where I'm typing a little lower on my document. And if I select this, I would have to try to come up here and figure out, I want to match that perfectly. Well, I can't. Well, I could go up here and look and say, okay, let's see here. This is a heading one that's lobster font with its 20 points, it's italics, and it has this color. Or I could use my paint format. And the way the paint format works is it copies and pastes format parameters without copying and pasting the text. Okay, so it's a two-step process, and the way it works is, and Word has this too. Microsoft Word has this, but a lot of people don't use it in Word either. So the way this works is if I click into the text itself, anywhere where the text is formatted the way I want to copy it to my other text, I can just click inside of it and then click on the painter. And you'll see now the button is depressed. You see how it's kind of pushed in? That means that the next thing that I select, it's going to apply that formatting to it. Now I'm going to go over here and select it and let go. And you'll see that that's copied that formatting. And that is wonderful for creating consistency in a document when you're never 100% sure if you can maintain the consistency. So in terms of the basic formatting tools, those are the important ones. I want to look at the format, at the file menu for a second. A couple of great things in here. Some of these things are better addressed later. I'm not going to address all of them, but one of my favorite ones, I love this one. There's, if you scroll down, you'll see where am I here? See this thing? It's I'm sorry, they've moved it. It used to be lower in the menu. They must have known I liked it because they raised it up in the menu. That was probably something I brought up at the last Google meet and greet. Anyway, if I go to email as attachment, this is great. How many times have you wanted to email an attachment to somebody of a document you're working on, and you've had to save it as a PDF, find the PDF, attach it to your email, and send it? Plus, you have to go to your email to do it, right? Well, with this feature, you do it right from Google Docs. And here's how it works. You click on email as attachment, and you can put in the person you want to email it to. And I'll email it to my Stockton email address, and you can put in it actually look, it pulls the title of whatever you had. Of course, I called mine title of document, and you can put in a little message. You can even send a copy to yourself if you like. And you also have a choice to pick what kind of a document you're sending to the person. PDF is the default. That's what most people want to use. But look at this. Sometimes you're working with people who are still using Microsoft Word, or they're still in the Microsoft domain. Okay, so if you wanted to send it to them as a Word document, you can send them as a Word document. And of course, you have these other options. So right from here, I can send this email and share, give it to a friend. Now, this is not the same as sharing. Sharing is a step above this, okay? But it's a great thing. It's a great feature, and I love it. I use it a lot in business situations when I have to get PDFs to people quickly. So you probably heard that little ding. My email came in, and so that works very nicely. Another thing here that may be of interest to you is that if for some reason you do need to finish your document in Word or use it in the Word format, you can download your document under here from File, Download As to any of these formats. So you can download to a PDF. So technically, this is a PDF converter or a PDF creator. And I can also download it to be a Microsoft Word document if for some reason I need to continue working on this document in the world of Word, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of my tabs up here at the top, and I want to talk about putting in an image. So I'm going to click over here, and Don't try to read this text because it's written in an ancient Latin that nobody understands. I just put some dummy text. This is called lorem ipsum. We use it in the graphics world to just to put in empty copy. Okay, although the titles are in English. Anyway, what I want to show you, the reason I did this is that the way you can put in an image, it's important to understand how it relates to text. And the image icon is up here at the top. It has a little picture of an image, or you can also do it from the insert menu. You get the same menu in both places. So here are my options. I can upload from my computer, at which point, if I want to put something in here, there it is. I can put an image right in. That was just something I pulled up from my computer. We'll use that for a second. Okay, so now with this image in here, look at this. When I click on an image, I have 3 options. This menu appears when you click on the image. Okay, and I can do it inline. And let me show you the behaviors of all of these 3. There's inline, there's wrap text, and there's break text. Let me show you the behaviors. Inline, I'm going to make this a touch smaller. By the way, now I can show you how to resize an image. Of course, it works just like other places where if you grab the corners, this is a perfect time to use undo. If you grab the corners, it will maintain the proportions. And so I'm going to do that. Now listen, I'm going to keep this inline. Now watch what happens when I put this into text. Inline is probably the least desirable of them. It basically starts the text right where the image ends, and it usually aligns it with the baseline of the image. If I take this in the same location and do wrap text, it creates a much nicer looking text wrap with the image. And then there's another one called break text, which does not let it wrap. It actually will just break in between whatever lines of text, whatever lines you have text you place it. This one is really nice if you're putting in little diagrams for how to do it, or making a manual or something like that. It's great for putting instructions with images and things like that. So that's the basic behavior of the images. But there's another thing that this does that I really like with regards to images, is that if I go to insert an image, it gives me the complete Google image search right in front of me. So if I go to if I go to search the web and I search for image, I can find one right here and just place it into my document. Okay. And I can just drag it in, and there I have it. Okay. This also only returns images that are listed for sharing in the Google image searches. Somebody's typing violently. Okay. So, so this is the the way you can just use a Google image search. So this is the same thing as if I had gone to Google and done the image search. The only difference is it happens, I get to use it right here in front of me. So that's how the image search works. Now, what I want to work on is sharing. And I want to talk about the different ways we can share documents and how it works. I have this little thing where I started a paragraph, just another thing I started, and I want to show how sharing can work. So what I want to do is share this document. I'm going to go up to the top right corner, and you'll see share. And I want to share this with, I'm going to share it with myself, with my Stockton account. And actually, let me do it with this. Actually, I'm going to share this with myself. Now, that's one way to share. So for those of you that didn't see the sharing that we did on the Google Drive workshop, you basically just put in the email addresses of who you want to share. Now, once you've used a lot of email addresses, the email addresses of the person you want to share with should just pop up once you put in a couple letters that of their email address. They should pop up. Even a letter of their name you can put in. Additionally, I have this. See this pencil? This means I can assign different privileges to who I'm sharing with. So I can share with, I can give myself editing privileges, just commenting privileges. Well, that means that the person can look at the document, they can make comments about the document, but they can't make changes to the document. And then can view means they can't even make comments. All they can do is look at it. And sometimes that's good if it's just a document you need to share. I'm going to keep full editing privileges on, and I'm going to send this to myself. And I should be getting some notification that it was shared with me. So that's how it works. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, sometimes it takes a second or two for this to happen. I'm going to switch over to my other account. I'm going to switch to my Stockton account. Hold on, I need to minimize for a second. Give me a second. I'm going to switch over here. And let me show you where you find a shared document when somebody shares with you. So let me bring this up to full screen so everybody can see better. And on the left in Google Drive, you'll see shared with me. And sure enough, look at this. Today, Roots of Hip Hop, start of my great essay, is right here. Now, this is the document I just created as myself in a different account, and I am going to go on and take a look at it. Now, let me show you how this works. Okay, so now I have the shared one. This looks exactly like the other one, but look up in the top right corner of my screen. Because I'm still on as myself in the other account, it has me with my Google Plus page over there, and then it shows, so there are two of us are working on this document. Now, this is a really interesting when you start to get 5 or 6 people on there, because you'll see all their icons appearing up at the top right. Additionally, as people start to edit in this document, you'll start to see that little red line. Wherever somebody goes and starts to edit in the document, you'll actually see them editing and changing things in real time. What I want to do is talk about how we can use comments to work on documents. Now, here's how this works. Now, I'm not going to have you read this text, but if I go here, I'm going to look at this thing from a musical perspective. Our story will begin. Well, I'm going to select that because I noticed that whoever wrote this, which was me, and I intentionally wrote this wrong, is that I used our story earlier in my document. So let's say that I'm the person now commenting on this. I might want to say, or might want to say this to a student. Okay, I could say, I could click on here, see the little thing that appears when I select text, the little comment icon appears on the right. And what it does is it means that you're commenting on a specific part of the document. It has to be somewhere in the document to create a comment, because it's expecting you to create a comment to a specific area. When I click on that, I can click on this and I can say overuse of our story. And then, of course, now I'm going to go back to my other account. I know this is getting kind of crazy, but this is how it works. So let me minimize, and I'm going to go over here, and now I'm back here. So this is what it looks like. I'm here. Remember, I left off here. See my little pink thing? That's where I was working. Now I get to look at this, and I see the comment in here, and we could just go back and forth like this if we want. By the way, this does not have to be in real time. It could be, I could have put this on at 11 o'clock last night, and then the other person sharing could have done it at 10 o'clock the next morning, and the comment will be there. So it's a great way to work. I've collaborated with a lot of people on projects this way, and we've worked this way, and it's much better than going back and forth in email. Okay. Incidentally, if your email is attached to this, when you do make these comments, the person you're sharing with will get an email telling them that you did send a comment. So let's say I fixed this. I would just hit resolve. See that? And that means that I've taken care of it, even though I didn't. Okay. Now let me go back to my Stockton one. Okay. Now I'm going to do something that's a cut above a comment, and this is called a suggestion. okay? And in the suggestion, rather than commenting on it, I could literally make the change and let them decide if they want to keep the change. So I'm going to go in here from a musical perspective, our story, and I'm going to go into my suggestion mode, okay? So right now I'm in editing mode up here on the top right corner. I'm going to click this drop down box and I'm going to click suggesting. And in here, I'm going to put in a comma after the word perspective, and I'm going to put in we instead of our story. I'll put we will begin. Okay. Now what that is I haven't officially made a change to the text. I've simply put in the suggestion that it should be changed. Now the recipient of this, who is going to be my other account, will go in and see this suggestion, and it's showing me that we want to add a comma and replace. So if I want to take the suggestion, I can click this little checkbox, and it will fix it, and then it will permanently write it into the document. So that's a great way to work. A lot of language arts teachers like to work this way with their students. Many of them use the comments thing more. And this has revolutionized the way classroom work is done, particularly in the K-12 arena, because rather than having a student give several revisions of a paper or drafts, they work off of one draft, and the teachers can actually go in and check on the drafts as long as the document is shared with the teacher. They can go in and check with them on them, okay? So that's how that works. Now, another thing to keep in mind is if I go to the File menu, you'll also see version history, and you'll see version history. Now, this doesn't have a lot of versions, but as you can see, this window that opened up here, this will show you every single change that was made by whatever person made it. Now, I'm the same person making the changes, so it's not that exciting. But if there were 5 people working on this document, we would know who did what. This is also great if you assign a group project for students and you have 5 students working on one document. You can see who did what in the document, at least typing wise. You can at least see what you've done. Another thing that the version history is great for is going back, because keep in mind that as I create a document in Google Drive, it's continually saving. Every single character I put in there is being saved immediately when I put it in. So if for some reason I do a bunch of things to a document and go, wow, it was better before, I can go back to the original. I can go back to the original one and revise it. So, and if I want to keep the original one, up at the very top of the screen, I can click on Restore this version, and it will take me back to an older version of the document. So that is the way that sharing works, and it is wonderful. I can share to a higher level if I want. If I go to the Share button and I click Get Shareable Link, that's a more advanced sharing. And if I do it from here, I can basically send it so that anyone with the link can view the document. That makes it basically a web page. Okay, so people can get to this document and say, this is great for sharing, various different things, maybe with a class. Hello? Oh, okay. So that's basically, I want to show one more thing, and then I'm going to open this up to questions, a couple more things, and then I'll open it up to questions. Let me go over here to notes. I have a little document I've loaded here. Under the tools, just so you know where they are, there's the spell checker, which works very much like any other spell checker you've ever worked with. There's also the word count, if you need to know, if you need to know. This is also great for grading papers. As soon as you put it in, you can see if they've fulfilled the number of words that you were required for your assignment. If you're a type of person that grades or assigns based on that, there are various other things. Explore is something that's very cool. which actually, it's more of an intermediate advanced concept, but I'm going to quickly show you what it does. If I go to Explore, hold on, I'm just going to, actually, you can find Explore at the bottom right corner of the screen. And the wonderful thing about Explore is it allows you to do research right from your document. So if I were doing something on, let's say I was doing something on Martin Luther King, I always use Martin Luther King because I can type in 3 letters and I can do it quickly. And I know we're not supposed to use Wikipedia, but we're going to use it anyway. And if I click on the Wikipedia page and I find some information that I want to paraphrase, not copy and paste, paraphrase, and I'm using this page as a resource, I could type in the information that I have mined from my page. I could put that information in. There's my paraphrasing. And then if I want to cite that, okay, I can go up here and you see where these little quotes are? I can click this and I can cite it as a footnote. Now, if I click that, you'll see it put the tiny, if I zoom in on this, let me zoom in so you can see a little better. See how I put the little footnote 1 in there? And if I go to the bottom, and it gives me the perfect footnote for citing from a web page or citing from a web resource. And it does that right for me. Now, up here where this, what we call the kebab menu, these 3 vertical ellipses, you'll see that I can go MLA, APA, or Chicago with this, and it'll change my formatting. So that was just a quick look at what you can do in Explore. Another thing that's great about Explore is it will also pull related images for your paper. And again, it always pulls images that have been granted permission for reuse. So you don't have to worry too much about intellectual property infringement. And then it also will search your drive, which means that if you were compiling information on your drive, on your Google Drive and other documents, it will find it for you and allow you to pull in text from other documents. So it's a real useful tool. The Explorer is great. And Explorer in all the Google apps works a little differently, but this is a wonderful research tool for you and for students. Of course, I'm assuming that the people here are teachers, but or professors, as the case may be. But that's how this works. So let me just take a look at my notes, and then we'll open up to questions. I just want to make sure I covered most of the stuff I wanted to do. I think I did. And so we can open up to questions if you like. Are there any questions?
I've opened up all the mics, so you have the freedom now to ask your questions. Remember, you could have also muted your mic, so you want to unmute your mic before asking the question.
Anybody have a question? I hear something.
What is script editor? It's
Oh, script editor. Who's asking that?
Lois.
Hi, Lois. The script editor is actually there's actually a coding component to all of the Google Docs where you can actually create automated. You actually have to go in and code in specific various different types of macros or things to automate the program. It's mainly for people who want to do actual coding and programming.
Okay, not me.
Yeah, you know what though? As you get deeper into this, sometimes you can find every now and then you find yourself wanting to do something that Google Docs can't do. And you can find somebody who actually went and scripted something that actually does that. I see that less in the Docs app, but I see that a lot more in, say, the Google Sheets, which is more like Excel. And then that becomes more like a macro creator. As a matter of fact, Google Sheets has just upgraded to they do have a macro editor which does use the Google scripts. So yeah, that's not for everybody, but it would make a great coding class for high school kids.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Well,
Yeah,
yes.
I had a question about the email. I guess when I went to send it, it said it couldn't send it. Or couldn't.
Okay. If you're using the Stockton account, there are two Stockton accounts. There's
Yeah.
the union one, and then
Right.
there's the actual faculty staff one.
Uh-huh.
If you're using the faculty staff one, there is no Gmail for that because we're still using what do you call it? The
Exchange.
Exchange. Thank you, Faisal. We're still using that. So the only reason that wouldn't go for you is probably because there's no Gmail. But if you were using that for any account that's attached to a Gmail account, it'll work. It should work for your SFT account.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
So if you do it from there, you'll be good. Or if you have a personal one, it'll work from there as well. That's the reason I actually logged in on my personal account, was for that one reason alone.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Anybody else? Well, since you don't have another question, I'll show you something else.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to, let's see here. Here's a document that has a lot of stuff in it. I'll get rid of the moose. Although I like the moose, but let's say that I was telling you about the subtitles and the ability to put in a table of contents. I have deliberately put in subtitles. If I click on these, you'll see I've got heading 1 for all the various different subtitles. Mm-hmm. And so if I wanted to put in a table of contents, I can go to Insert, and I'll do Table of Contents, and I have two choices. Actually, living in the digital world, which is kind of where I live most of the time now, I kind of like the second of the two options, but I'll show you what they are. You can either do them with page numbers, or you can do them with hyperlinks. I think hyperlinks rock, okay, because it will actually take you, it actually puts markers right into your page and takes you right to where you want to go. But I'll do it with the page numbers first. See what this has done? This has taken my my subheadings and created a table of contents for me, and of course done it to corresponding pages. I'm going to undo that and show you how the other one works. So if I go to Insert and Table of Contents, I can do the hyperlink one. This is wonderful, because now a user can get to the page and come to, if I want to go to controversies and go immediately to it, just click it and it just takes me right there. So now you've got what they do in web pages, which is called targets or anchors. It does it just by simply finding your subheadings. Now, had I been using even deeper headings like heading 2 and heading 3, then it would have made a more hierarchical table of contents and allowed it and worked on that for me. But that's really great for longer papers and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind.
So, Phil, I did have another question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
I'll put my video back on so you can read my eyebrows. Okay. Reading eyebrows is important.
Yes.
Okay, which makes me never quite sure how I'm doing on one of these things, on one of these webinars, but that's okay.
So the question is, so on these headings and whatnot, you can, how do you go in to change the font of the heading itself?
That is under options. You can go to, you have to create different styles. That's more of a topic for the intermediate advanced workshop.
Okay, so you got to create a new style.
But you can do it, yeah.
Okay.
Totally doable.
Got it.
Yeah, that gets a little involved for today, but we'll cover it.
Right.
Phil, so this is just basically Word on steroids, right?
Well, actually, Word, I think, has the steroids. This is more because this doesn't have all the robust features that Word has. where I would say the advantage is, and of course this is changing now that Microsoft has built its own online type of equivalent of this. Of course, you have to pay for that, but the thing that makes this great is the fact that it's online all the time, always available and shareable
Right.
with everybody, and that's what changes your workflow. I remember at one point I upgraded to a new computer, and I deliberately did not put Microsoft Office applications on it. Not that I had any hatred for them or anything like that. I just wanted to see if I could survive without them. And I kind of only used the Google applications. And this was back when Google didn't do half as much as what it does now. And I found myself not having any problems or relatively few problems at all. So yes, you are right. This is just another word processor, really, but it's in the cloud. And, this means that when you're in your layover in Chicago and the flight is delayed and you want to get on and fix a document because you have a couple hours, you don't have to go, oh my God, I don't have that with me.
Yeah.
You can log right in and just start to work.
Or grade papers.
What's that? Oh yes, you can grade papers, and then of course when you take this into the world of Google Classroom, that adds a whole other level to this, because then these documents now integrate with like an interface that the students get that looks almost like a Facebook feed, which is, and then you can put their documents, you can put documents for them to fill out up there, or they can submit documents to you from there. And then it's like, Pandora's box opens at that point, it almost becomes endless.
We'll have to take that class now then.
Yeah, although I don't know if Stockton wants me to start talking people out of using Blackboard, but I will say that as an experiment in my last class, I created a Google Classroom page, and my Blackboard page was nothing but a link to my Google Classroom. That was all it was. I put a picture. I got a little ambitious, but and the students really liked it. They found it a lot easier. Now, it doesn't have all of the capabilities and depth of Blackboard, but for what I was doing, which was a hybrid class, so it wasn't purely online, I found it to be a lot easier for everybody. But that's just me,
Dorothy, Joanne, and Luis, do you have any questions?
How do I access the link for last week's Drive webinar and tonight's?
Let me find it for you, and I'll put it into the chat. You mean from the Drive one?
The Drive and tonight's, like for future reference.
I'll tell you what. Let me put my email up here for you. And you send me an email, and I'll send you both links. Or this goes for everybody.
I believe she's referring to the recordings.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Faisal's department. He's the.
You are referring to the recordings of these sessions, is that right?
Actually, I'd like both since I have that option.
Yes. Okay. Here's my email address. If can you see that? I'll make it bigger. Send me an email, and I'll send you those links. The one link is the link from today's is at the very beginning of the chat. If you go to and then the one from last week. I mean, if I can find it while we're online, I'll put it up there for you today. I actually have to go to my other account here. Let's see.
And also, as soon as I go back to my office from my vacation, since I'm on vacation right now.
See what a good guy he is. He comes and facilitates on his vacation.
I will actually gather up both recordings, because we've recorded the previous session and this one, and I will send the links to those who participated, so you can go back and click on the link and watch the entire session happen again. Use it as a reference.
Do they really have to do that?
That'll be great.
It's a little bit of a torture, but it's doable.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Well,
That was great.
Let me see if I can find my Drive link for you. Here it is. I got it. I'm going to put that in the chat. So don't hang up yet.
Okay.
And you can always email me. As a matter of fact, you can email with any questions all the time. That's never a problem. There's the link to last week's. And even if you didn't attend last week's, you get to check it out just for participating in today's show.
Well, this concludes our webinar for the day. And I also want to remind you that the next webinar is 2 days from now, and that's Google Sheets. If you're interested in Google Sheets, we will be doing that on June 6th. The times are the same from 4 to 5, and the instructor is the same, Phil Polsinelli. I know
Where
some
you'll
of you
learn how to take a Google chart made in Sheets and put it into your Google Doc.
Yeah, if you have used Excel, Microsoft Excel, and you would like to use a collaborative version of a spreadsheet, I think Google Sheets is your choice. So I encourage you to register. And again, that's just as a little remark. What happens is when we open up these free webinars, many people register for them, but not all of them participate. In spite of the fact that we send several reminders throughout the week and the month, none of them participate. So
well, that's typical of webinars.
Exactly.
That's the percentage level you go for. Yeah.
And I encourage you to take a look at eptc.net/G webinars, the place where you registered for these last 2 sessions, including today's, and register for this one, Google Sheets, and take a look at the remaining. If you have not registered for some of the remaining webinars, it will be great. And keep in mind that this is also a learning experience for us. We've never done this at this level. So we're learning, and hopefully we'll be streamlining and learning from our mistakes. So if you have any suggestions, we welcome those as well. All right.
Okay, I appreciate everybody attending.
Thank you very much. It was really helpful.
Good. Who was that? Oh, that was Lois? Okay.
Thank you. Phil, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Phil, before you go,
I'm still here.
So you mentioned that if I do the slide one, I can't be there for Sheets. Is there a way to?
I can give you the archive. We can give you the archive.
Oh, you can send the archive later.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think Dan mentioned something like putting all the archives up for everybody.
Good idea.
Dan Gambert.
Yeah.
So maybe when Faisal gets back off of vacation, we can figure out a spot to share those with people.
Okay, so I should sign up anyway, even if I'm not going to be able to attend.
Yeah, sign up, and then you can always visit. We'll figure out how you can get to the archives.
Okay. Thanks,
okay.
Phil.
All right. Take care. I'll see you later.
Bye.
One last call for questions before we say goodbye. Okay, Phil, I guess that's it.
Cool.
Thank you very much, and I will see you on the 6th. I'll be in my office.
Oh, you're coming back on the 6th?
Yes.
Oh, that's soon.
Yeah, that's 2 days from now.
Oh, so you're not taking the whole week off?
No,
okay.
I took 10 days, so.
I see. Okay.
My 10 days have expired.
So
thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Lois. Thank you,
Dorothy. Phil.
Okay.
Okay.
Encourage you to register for the remaining ones if you haven't.
Will do.
Yeah, they all work together in a cool sort of way.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Phil.
Good night.
Cheers.